Hey everyone, it's Danielle, welcoming you back to another CaliFaces video. Are you a Crip or a Blood? That was the first question Officer Donovan Jacobs asked when he pulled over Sagon Penn. Minutes later, a police officer was dead, and Sagon Penn's life, as he knew it, was over. The day was March 31st, 1985. And Sagon Penn was in his hometown of San Diego, California, driving a pickup truck on his way to drop off some friends. At the same time, Officer Donovan Jacobs of the San Diego Police Department was watching and radioed dispatch saying he was about to pull over a truckload of Crips. 23-year-old Sagon Penn had grown up in San Diego and was familiar with the increase in gangs and gang violence happening throughout the city. But he wasn't a gang member. Since a kid, Sagon had studied martial arts and was a brown belt in Taekwondo. But to Officer Donovan Jacobs, Sagon Penn looked like a gang member. So the officer called for police backup and pulled Sagon's pickup truck over. The backup officer was Thomas Riggs. And with Officer Riggs in his patrol car was a civilian woman in the front seat who was there for a ride-along. As Officer Thomas Riggs got out to assist Officer Jacobs with the traffic stop, he told the woman to wait in the car. The two officers then proceeded towards Sagon's vehicle. Officer Donovan Jacobs approached the driver's side window and asked Sagon if he was a Crip or a Blood. Sagon replied that all he claimed was himself. Officer Jacobs then asked to see Sagon Penn's driver's license.
What did he do? He held out his wallet. And what did you do when he held out his wallet? I said I couldn't take his wallet, that I needed to see his driver's license.
As Sagon turned to walk away, Officer Jacobs grabbed his arm and struck him in the face. The two began to struggle, and Sagon ended up on the ground with Officer Jacobs on his chest, punching him. Seeing what was happening, backup Officer Thomas Riggs pulled out his baton, hitting Sagon and kicking him. Then suddenly, a gunshot rang out. Then, 5 more. Sagon Penn had somehow been able to grab Officer Jacobs' revolver out of his holster, and he fired 6 shots in 6 seconds. Officer Donovan Jacobs was shot once. Backup Officer Thomas Riggs was shot 3 times. And the last 2 shots were fired at the woman sitting in the patrol car. Sagon Penn would later say that he feared the woman was also a cop and might kill him. With the officers down, Sagon took one of the patrol cars and drove to his grandfather's house, where he told him he had just shot 3 police officers in self-defense.
And when he told me that, when he had to do it in self-defense, then I said, well, then you want to go turn yourself in? He said, yeah.
27-year-old Officer Thomas Riggs was killed in the shooting. What followed that day were 2 highly publicized trials, where 36 eyewitnesses testified.
The officer that was on top of him, straddling him, he said, you think you're bad, you think you're bad.
Yes, he was standing above him, hitting him with a stick.
But the prosecution blamed the altercation and the killing on Sagon for not cooperating with officers during the traffic stop.
99.5% of the population would have been controlled in this situation.
Sagon Penn's defense lawyer countered that argument, saying that although Sagon had killed Officer Thomas Riggs, he was in no way the instigator of the attack.
And 3 or 4 adult people there believed that he was going to be killed.
2 years and 2 trials later, Sagon Penn was found not guilty. Following the verdict, Sagon Penn's family and supporters were thrilled to see him free, and they'd hoped that he could get back to living a somewhat normal life. In a 1988 interview with the LA Times, Sagon said he hoped for the same thing, but that it wasn't easy. He had children, so he didn't want to leave San Diego. But he also couldn't find a job due to all the publicity surrounding the trials. And then there was the constant harassment. Sagon said in the interview he couldn't have a life. On July 4th, 2002, Sagon Penn committed suicide. He was 40 years old. The Sagon Penn incident caused major changes within San Diego County police departments. In 1990, his case prompted the city to create the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board, a group of board members who independently investigate all complaints of misconduct brought against police officers. And today, that review board still exists, along with the memory of Sagon Penn.